Welcome to Improv for the Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be interviewing Sylvain, who will tell us all about his improvisational journey. We'll play a couple games, and most importantly, learn how he improved his life. Let's hit it. Welcome to Improv for the Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Lee Evans, and today I am joined by the incredibly talented producer, talented bike rider, Sylvain, joining us today in studio. Sylvain, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Michael. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. I like doing this on a Wednesday night because it's a highlight of my week. It really is. So thank you for being here and being the highlight of my week.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sylvain, before we get too far into our episode, I'd love for you to share a little bit kind of your relationship with IFTP, maybe when you got started, how long you've been taking classes.
Yeah, I started in June of last year, and I took Jamie's class for 3 months, and then I switched to Ava's class, Ava's Tuesday class. I did that for a few months. And then I did, so that will be, I think, toward December. And then I switched to Ava's Monday class, and I did a show in December. Oh, that was really cool.
That's fantastic. We're going to talk about that more a little later because I want to hear about your experience. Great. And what you didn't mention, and I know, is that you also went to improv camp, right? Back in October.
Yeah.
And I know that's where I think we met for the first time. Or we might have met over the summer. But we had some good conversations at improv camp.
We did, yeah. We had a class together. One time I did a makeup, and you were in the same class. So
yes, you're right.
Before camp, a little before camp.
Yeah, I think August maybe, somewhere around there. That's a good point. Good memory.
Camp was major aspect of my relationship with IFTP so far, I must say, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those events where if you're choosing to go to camp, you're like, okay, I'm going to commit to this. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find out. And then you do a full weekend of improv. And I think at that point, you're fully bought in. Yeah,
exactly.
So I agree. Yeah. All right. Well, that's really cool. So you started in June and you've had a few different teachers, which we'll talk about more later because I think that's always interesting. But before we do, it's time to play a little Three Things, Sylvain. All right. So any questions for me about how we play Three Things?
No, I've played before. I like that game.
All right, we got a pro. All right, so in this edition of Three Things, but it's personal, we have some categories related to you. I did some digging, Sylvain. Went on Google, various websites, LinkedIn, things like that, because I like to dig up some stuff. All right, so here we go. For these first category, these are three things. Best foods to eat on a film set.
Apples.
1, why didn't I snap?
Chips.
2.
Cereal.
3, these are three things. Second question, things that are only found in France.
A lunch menu that is under $30.
1.
The Eiffel Tower.
2.
And the Louvre Museum.
3, these are three things. Final category, projects that you've worked on or produced.
A film about Judd Apatow.
1.
A film called Golden Slumbers about Cambodian cinema.
2.
And a short movie.
3. These are three things. All right. Very nice. I found your IMDb page, and then I found that you're a part of a production company, or like you own, or you're the creator of a production company, like all these things.
Yeah, I started it. We started it, I think, 2009 with two friends of mine who they both wanted to become filmmakers, and we started the company in order to produce the Cambodian documentary.
Golden Slumbers.
Golden Slumbers, exactly, yeah. And so we made that, and then we made a couple other films, and then the company's still around, but we don't have any active projects because both my friends and partners moved abroad and started working on bigger films.
Wow. Okay.
That we couldn't really make ourselves, so they got involved with other people. And I also moved here. So we still have the company, but we're not doing anything with it right now. But we did make movies in the 2010s, yeah.
Yeah. I saw there was a number of projects that you created, which I want to watch a few because I was like, I love documentary films and just the different subjects you covered. Such a broad range, too, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, so one of the co-founders, his name is Davy Shu. He actually has a film coming out in February, so I will mention that. It's called Return to Seoul, Seoul, as in the city in South Korea. And it's about a French young woman who is originally from Korea. She was adopted at birth and then by French parents. And it's her journey through like refusing to identify herself with anything really, just being like her own pure individuality, but still coming to grips in a way with her roots and her origin, her biological family, the culture of Korea and things like that. It's really good. It came out in France now. It's having great reviews. It was actually shortlisted for the Oscars as the Cambodia's submission for Best Foreign Film. It's not nominated, but it was like in the last 15.
Yeah, it was close.
People are raving about it, and it's coming out. I think it's coming out in February here.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so watch out for it.
This month. All right. And what's it called again? Road to Seoul?
Return to Seoul.
Okay, Return to Seoul. All right.
And so that guy, Davey, he's a Cambodian. I mean, he's French, but his parents are Cambodian. So he grew up in France.
Okay.
But kind of a similar journey. He discovered that he had like some family background in Cambodia, went there, and then decided to make a documentary about Cambodian cinema, which was thriving in the 60s. It was really like this super exciting bubble of creators, writers, producers, filmmakers, actors, and everything like that. And then they all got destroyed by the dictatorship of the Khmer Rouge in the early 70s, I think. They kind of, wiped out everything. Yeah. Killed everybody and wiped out all the culture.
It's sad. Yeah, just
it's
the
horrible.
loss of art and culture.
Yeah, so the movie's about that. It's about talking to people from that era, and then also exploring how young people in Cambodia today, what their relationship with that past is, what the culture is like now. And there's not a lot of material to show because the movies are not there.
Yeah, they're lost.
There's a little bit of it, but not that much. And the movie's more about exploring the remnants and the ghosts and the memories of that past rather than showing archive and things like that. Yeah. So that's what we did in 2009, 2010, something like that. And that was our first movie. Yeah. And then the second one, the next huge one that we made that was huge for us was directed by my other friend Jackie, who actually lives here now, who's a film critic, passionate about American comedy. And we kind of discovered that world together. He got me into it, became really passionate about American comedy film, and then he decided to make a documentary about Judd Apatow, and that's what we did.
He's a big figure in American comedy. Wow. What was your experience like working on that project?
It was pretty amazing because he through being a film journalist, my friend Jackie, film critic, he had interviewed Apatow before, so we were able to contact him, convince him to talk to us and make a movie with us. And so we got here. It was 2013. We got here we stayed for like a couple months. Met him, and through him, because he helped us, met a bunch of the players that he was involved with at the time. So Lena Dunham for Girls, Jonah Hill for Superbad and Knocked Up and stuff like that.
He's got a crew.
Yeah. And then it's funny because there's a bunch of people around him that he helped, whose career he kind of helped launch and or developed or move forward. Like even we talked to Steve Carell because The 40-Year-Old Virgin is a movie that Carell pitched to Apatow, who then pitched it to a studio exec, and then they made it, and Carell wrote it with Apatow, I think, something like that. Yeah. So Steve Carell also owes a lot to Apatow. He collaborated with a lot of people. So we met them. We were able to meet them, interview Apatow, and then cut a film that's kind of about that generation, that group, which now they've all blown up.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we made the movie, it was kind of the end of that era of camaraderie and proximity between all these people. They'd been working together for a long time. Paul Rudd, who was also part of that group, even said it was almost like being in a band because we would be on each other's movies all the time.
Yeah, everybody's jumping around. You're like, oh, it's that guy from that other movie. And
from
that's so
basically
true.
Anchorman and The 40-Year-Old Virgin, all the way to Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Funny People, and stuff like that. And
all those movies.
Even down to what's it called? Bridesmaids.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
and then when we made the movie, it was like that era was kind of like freshly behind all of them because they were all blowing up. And
Yeah, so it's the 2000s, and then
now they don't really make movies together, but they all they probably look back very fondly on that time in their lives.
I believe it. Yeah, I don't think a lot of movies like that aren't really made anymore. I feel like it's
no, no, you're right. For me, the last one was This Is the End, which Judd Apatow did not produce, but it was produced by Seth Rogen. But they're all in there.
Yeah, it's
poking
all
fun at
those same
themselves
guys.
as like very entitled actors and celebrities. So that was a very fun movie to watch, knowing that they all had history together. And now, it was a period of like probably high level of creativity among all these people, and that was very exciting as a moviegoer to watch, especially discovering American comedy and being like, it was kind of new to me, all that stuff. So wow, that is amazing. I still remember the summer I discovered back to back Superbad and Knocked Up, and I was like, I'd never seen a movie like that. The dialogue so like. Sparks are flying all the time.
Yes,
Jonah Hill and Michael Cera and Superbad, like the chemistry between them.
Back and forth.
And it's obviously it's raunchy, it's dudes among themselves. But if you think of, I think it's a probably pretty true portrayal of what it's like to be in your early 20s, living with your roommates in LA.
Yeah.
You smoke weed and you talk about whatever.
It's not entirely inaccurate. Yeah.
And Knocked Up also blew my mind for that reason, because I never seen like, I don't know, a group of guys portrayed that way in kind of a realistic a lot of improv on the sets, realistic way. And then I thought it was very sweet the way that the premise of the movie is like, okay, we're gonna take this goofball Seth Rogen and just match him with this amazing and successful, strikingly beautiful lady, Katherine Heigl.
Yeah, she's got it together. Yeah.
She has a career. She's smart. She's gorgeous. She's very intimidating. Also very sweet. And then they put them together, and we're just going to assume that it's going to work, which is not realistic, really. But we'll assume that it's going to work and see how it works. And then it's kind of cool because you can see that movie how awkward Seth Rogen is all the time, and how he's almost like. In a way, he's in situations where he doesn't belong. When he's hanging out with her and her family, Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann, they all they're all like picture perfect, and he's like
it's just his laugh. Yeah,
like he's making bad jokes. Now it's different. Now he's very much an insider, so he can't really be that character anymore. But it was kind of cool to see him that way.
Yeah, in those early days, I think. Wow, yeah, I'm just thinking about how influential, like 2000 to 2010, just the films that were made in that time, and how all those actors, they started in improv, a lot of those guys. Even Judd Apatow, I know. Judd Apatow, Adam McKay, like a lot of those people who are all closely linked.
Yeah, we talked to Adam McKay, and we learned, that I didn't know, but I learned, somebody else told us that Adam McKay is a god of improv.
Yeah.
I've never seen him, but I wish I'd seen him do improv, but apparently he's like really...
I would love to see him as well. I only know stories about it from like reading and different things. He was one of the kind of involved in like the early foundings of UCB with like Amy Poehler and all those folks. So he was in on that scene.
And obviously Steve Carell.
Yeah, Steve Carell.
And Ferrell also, Will Ferrell also with the Groundlings. All these people. Yeah. Kristen Wiig too. Yeah.
All right. Well, I would say we did a good job of touching on that third category I asked you about. And that was fascinating. Thank you for just expanding on that, your experience working with your own production company and documentary filmmaking. I want to touch on those other two categories as well, of course, and then we'll get to our improv interview. So that second category, I asked you things that are in France that aren't, things you can only find in France.
Yeah.
And that first one, you really burned me there. A lunch menu with under $30.
So maybe something I will say that's something that Paris does better than LA is an affordable lunch menu. I was just there like last month,
right?
And I had lunch with a friend of mine, and I noticed that before. You can go to in Paris. You can go to a very nice restaurant, as nice as any like trendy restaurant in West Hollywood or something, and you can get a lunch menu with starter, main, and dessert for between 19 and 35 euros, depending on where you go. And I know a couple places now where if I'm there, I think if I want to have lunch with Maeve, my wife, or with a friend who's there, we'll just go there and have like amazing food for an affordable price. And I think that's because, of the culture, people's habits. They really have the habit of going to lunch at a restaurant in the middle of the workday. So it's just done a lot. And Paris is very dense. So there's a lot of people, a lot of businesses everywhere. So a lot of people need a spot to go to lunch. So I think those restaurants, they just built those affordable menus around that. And if you go to dinner, it's probably twice as expensive. But the food for lunch, it's probably as nice as the food you get for dinner.
I believe
and it's definitely as nice as the food you'll get here for lunch or dinner.
Probably better.
and it's affordable. So I don't know. First, like, it's nice not to spend as much money, and it takes like something out of it. It takes some of the pressure out of it. It's more like I'm at the bistro with my friend. We're gonna have an informal lunch and just shoot the breeze.
Yeah.
Versus I'm going out for the only time this month because that's the only time I can only spend $200 once a month or something like that.
And then you do that, and the food's not even that good. That's what always happens. That's the worst.
Yeah. So it pays to know the good spots, and you can do that. Yeah.
That's an interesting point, and I think definitely an interesting cultural discussion too. Is we got some expensive lunches out here and dinners. Oh man!
And I'm sure there's good stuff here that's affordable, but sure. I haven't been here long enough to know my way around all these. Yeah. And the famous ones are very pricey.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree with that. All right. And then that first category, I just, I was thinking about it. Well, just looking at your kind of career history and like knowing that you've probably been on a number of sets. And just thinking about I was like, well, what do people do on sets? Oh, it's about eating snacks. So I was just curious. And I think you mentioned cereal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of cereal would you want to eat on set? Any kind, or is there a particular brand or type?
Probably Cocoa Puffs.
Ooh, that's an excellent choice.
I think that's my favorite cereal. But I will tell you, in all honesty, why I said this, why it came back. It ties back to the Judd Apatow documentary, because Jason Segel, who was on the series Freaks and Geeks,
oh yeah, he told us Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, it's a great show.
It's a great, yeah.
He told us a very funny story that he tells, I think, about that show, because the show got canceled, and it was as this season was going, it was less and less backed by the network, so they had less and less money.
Oh,
and he said the craft service went from being this lavish spread to just a box of cereal and a creamer. And that's a memory they all have about the show.
Yeah,
that's why I came up with cereal, even though I'm not even sure you'll find cereal on set.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, cakes and fruit.
Yeah, those are both good choices. Fruit, I mean, that's something you can just grab too and take it with you. You grab an apple, banana, orange, whatever.
Cakes, fruit, and coffee. And on a French set, if you're lucky, or if they take good care of you, or if you want to be well liked by the crew, you bring croissants and chocolate croissants.
Yeah, some baked goods. Yeah, I'd go for that. Yeah. That sounds good to me, but I agree. I think a steady diet of fruits, cake, and coffee, that's the way to go. Yeah, I think I kind of eat that way now.
Yeah, and probably if you have like a decades-long career in movies, you better eat the fruit.
Yeah. If you want to keep coming back, stay healthy, not get sick or anything. That's a good point. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate your insight on that. You ready to talk about some improv?
I sure am.
All right, absolutely. All right, Sylvain. So I want you to think back. When was the first time in your life that you just heard about improv? Not necessarily tried it, but just heard about it or learned what it was?
I think it's probably in high school. It's a vague memory, but I remember my Spanish teacher mentioning it, which sounds weird now because I don't remember doing improv with her. I wouldn't have done improv in Spanish in high school.
No, that's surprising.
She told us, here's what she told us. She told us in Quebec, they play a lot of hockey, but when it's the summer and there's no ice out, they didn't know what to do, so they came up with improv. And improv as a sports, like comedy sports, where you have two teams competing against each other, and they tag up, they team up, and then there's points, there's fouls, there's rules and stuff like that. So, apparently improv is big in Quebec, and So in French-speaking Montreal, let's say, and it's a lot about the games, like the matches.
Yeah.
Which is actually when I did a little improv in Paris years later, and our teacher he would often to tell us like this is what you need to do, like give us pointers. He would also go back to what it's like to be in a game, in a match, pitted against another improv team and having to compete and stuff like that. Things like when there's a whistle and the whole team is or a short countdown, all of the improvisers that are required are not on set by the time it's the whistle's done or whatever. You get a foul, you get a penalty because not everyone was on set at the start, and that helps you know that when people are clapping, like let's hear it for them. You, as an improviser, it's a good thing to just walk on. Yeah. And start doing something as the clap is going. That way, it's like a really good open. You're in it already. Yeah. As opposed to waiting for the clap to end and like, okay, I'm going to do some space work now.
Now I'll start. Yeah. Like, okay, yes, that's very true because I think it helps keep the audience invested, right? Because there's not a lull in the action; it just keeps going. Which is you want that in sports too. So
yeah. So randomly in high school, and then the first world I was aware of was those competitions, which I'm not involved in now, and it's not what FTP does, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I know a little bit. I know there's an organization called Comedy Sports, and I know they have a presence here in the U.S. Like I had friends in college who were like, "Yeah, I used to do Comedy Sports when I was in high school," and I never got a chance to do it myself, but I think it's a really interesting idea of like. Just the idea of like, hey, we're going to play some improv, but it's scored, it's competitive, and it's a face-off against this other team, which I think could be a lot of fun. It's definitely something I would like to try.
I think the basic rules are the same. It's improv, so the building blocks are the same, and then you get things like you're going to do a scene, but you're going to do it in the manner of a Tarantino movie. And you have to know what that means and kind of
the cultural knowledge as well around it. Yeah.
Exactly. You're going to do a scene, you're going to do a genre, for example. Which we did, like when we did the show in December, directed by Ava. She had a scene which was genre, and she would give the performers a movie genre, and they had to switch from horror film to Western or whatever it is.
Yeah, kind of flip it up. That's fun. That's fun. I like that game a lot when you get to play all those genres. Yeah. Okay. So your high school Spanish teacher mentioned improv in relation to the Canadians needing something to do over summer, right? I love that because it's very obscure, but I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, given the explanation, right? Okay, so you heard about it. You probably didn't think about it too much. You kind of just, you were in high school and you kept doing high school. Were you involved in any performing arts, plays, theater, anything like that?
No, not at all in high school. Really not. And then when I went to business school after, there was an improv team there. But I will say, I was wrong, but I didn't like them.
Why did you not like them?
They were very popular, and I think that's why I didn't like them.
You're like, I don't need any of that.
Yeah, being the the judgmental, pedantic guy that I was in my late teens, early 20s in business school, I looked kind of down upon them because they were very popular, so they were invited all the time. Like there was an assembly or an event or something like that. Let's bring on the improv team. They'll do a bit on the theme of whatever's going on.
Okay, yeah, I could understand that. I might side with you.
But I wasn't into it, and they were good. Like I remember some. I still remember some bits that they made that were kind of cool. And people loved them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Short of being like a contrarian or kind of like in a bad mood all the time in school at those years, I don't know really why I wasn't into it, but I wasn't. But then after, again years later, when I was here doing the Avatar movie, we went to UCB, and that changed everything.
Yeah. What was that like?
So I think we may have seen an ASCAT, so the Amy Poehler thing, or the UCB thing, where there's a monologist and everything.
Yes.
So we saw some pretty seasoned performers.
Yeah, you've seen the pros get up there and do it, which that'll catch your attention.
Yeah, that was pretty mind blowing. And then we saw a bunch of younger dudes, and younger performers, and we saw Convoy, which is a pretty established, who is a pretty established group. Also, like they've been doing it for a long time. I think now they're at the PAC, but back then they were at UCB, and they blew my mind. Like my friend told me, like you'll see them, like they're really brainy. They're really smart about that improv. It's kind of out there. And then I saw them do it. It was like, it's just doing bit after bit after bit, the efficiency of it. And I remember thinking, I know this is improv, but they must have like bits of scene that
they must have
they've rehearsed so that they can use in place here and there. You know, I still thought like I couldn't really wrap my brain around the fact that it was 100% made up on the spot and not like stuff that they've rehearsed before. Like if you do this, and I'm going to do this. It's just them knowing each other so well and being so good at improv that it just they make it look alive and written, even though it's not. So that was pretty crazy. Yeah. And knowing that all these movies were made with a lot of improvisation on set. Because they all come from improv, so that's how the magic happens. You keep like Adam McKay keeps shouting to Will Ferrell, "Give me another one, give me another one,
give me another take." Yeah. And I think you have a very unique like perspective on this because you got an insider look talking to a lot of these people who were involved in those films, and then going to see a show at UCB, and just like that's an incredible kind of exposure to like, okay, yeah, I saw improv. You know, when I was in college, there was a team, and they were good, but not really my thing. But then coming to see like some of the people who were for a while were at the top of their craft, right? Making these comedy films and using improv to help inspire scenes and bits and stories and just funny moments that's pretty special.
Yeah, and you see how it all ties in, like why they're all so good at that is because they try to spend a lot of time doing it.
Yeah.
On these movies that they were making, they were shooting so much. They had so much material, and then they would cut it together. They told us, I think that's probably a famous story, but on Anchorman, they would just let Steve Carell let him loose at the end of every take. Like, we're gonna just not cut and just let you do your thing at the end of every
Steve? Yeah.
And he would just keep doing. Yeah. And then that's why he's like the funniest character in the movie. And one of the funniest characters I know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Rick Tamblyn, one of my favorites. I mean, you hear some of those lines he says, and I just have to think, there's no way anyone wrote that. It's just him there in front of the camera saying things. Yeah. That's
pretty amazing.
I definitely believe it. Okay, wow.
And then back in France, a couple of years after, I had a friend from business school, from that school, who wasn't in the improv group at that time, but he started improv after school, like as a young. I just as a young adult, and I went to see a couple shows by him, and I thought it was very cool. Like, you know, picture him and his buddies in the basement of a bar in Paris with like 3 rows of chairs. You have your beer and you watch the show. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool, and he's good too. You know, he was telling me, and then he told me about some of the books, some of the players in Chicago. He was really into the Chicago scene, like reading the
Compass Players,
Truth in Comedy, and stuff like that. So I saw him a couple times. I think I was like, oh, maybe I should sign up for this.
Yeah. So he convinced you to sign up? All right. And so you went from being like, the improv group to I'm in, I'm doing this, I'm taking classes.
Yeah.
So what was that like? You signed up for your first improv class. How did it go?
It went well. It was the mid-2010s, I think, something like that. I went to a neighborhood fair where they were presenting all the neighborhood societies or activities,
different
or things
groups
like that.
or clubs. And
So I went to the park by my house. I knew there was an event, and I was like, I saw a flyer for improv, and I spoke to the lady, and I told her, like, I forget what I asked her, but she said something that resonated with me. She was like, it's not really about. I was asking her about the style of improv that they do, I think. And she said, it's not really about comedy. You're just trying to be in the scene. And then whether it's funny or not, that's secondary. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it will be, maybe it won't. Either way, it's good.
Yeah, so I went, and then I did it for, I think I did it almost for a full year. Then I moved out of Paris. So I stopped, then I came back and did it for another full year. So like a year and a half of improv in France. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, with the same teacher, all pretty much the same group throughout, because you would sign up for a year, I think. So you pay, we paid either quarterly or for the whole year. So people don't always, show up every day, and sometimes there's new people, but for the most part, it was the same core group. So that was pretty cool. Like, getting to learn, because we were all beginners, getting to learn with this guy as a group for like a full year and a half was pretty cool.
Yeah. And how often would you meet? Was it once a week?
Once a week, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So pretty standard, I think.
Yeah.
I was thinking that. I was like, what if you're going every day? No, that would be too much,
That's
I think, for anyone. Yeah. All right, so that's really interesting. So I want to ask, because now that you've been here doing improv at IFTP, and then versus your time doing improv in France, what are some things that are maybe similar about improv in France and here in LA, and what are some of the differences?
I'll tell you something that appealed to me right away at IFTP is when I saw on their website that some of the members have been here for years. Mm-hmm. And that felt very different. And the fact that it's month to month, so you can stay on as long as you like, really.
Yes.
That felt very different from just knowing about how other theaters do it, because a lot of the theaters here in LA, they do like you pay for 6 weeks, and then if you want to move on, you can, even if you're not a beginner, you've done improv before, you have to pay for the 101 before,
yes, you do.
Before you move on. And it's 6
everyone
weeks,
starts at the 101.
Yep. So there's the flexibility at IFTP I thought was like very welcoming, and knowing that people have been doing it for a while, I was like, oh wow, it's really cool. Like I could picture a group that was similar to the one I had in Paris, being like people of all different backgrounds and different ages, and who do improv, and they want to do it for like a year or more versus doing a short cycle of 6 weeks and then move on to the next or not, So that's very similar. And then when I did my first class with Jamie, from the people that were there, the diversity of the people, especially in age, and it was normal people there, not like people in their 20s who did improv in college.
Right. Oh, that's
like
me.
all kinds of different people.
Yeah, variety.
A lot of beginners. So I felt right at home. I was like, oh, I'm like, this reminds me a lot of the improv that I had in France. And then the building blocks are the same. Like there's no, in France, I don't remember hearing like a word for word translation of some of the phrases that we use here, like the tools like yes and, justifying, things like that. But what our teacher would tell us was amounted to the same thing.
Yeah.
Somebody says no, shuts another player down. He'll be like, if you say no, the scene goes nowhere. If you say yes, and then you acknowledge, you accept what they brought, then the scene can move on. Things like that. He would say it that way, and not like saying like, teach us yes and in an exercise doing yes and really. And then his personality was a little different from the personalities from the teaching style here at IFTP. I think he was a little more of a tough love. That was probably his personality. Maybe it's also the teaching style in France where you don't have to. You don't. People care less maybe in France about being positive all the time.
Yeah,
they can kind of egg you on by like forcing you to do something, provoke you a little bit. At IFTP, it's always very heartfelt, heartwarming, supportive. Whenever there's feedback, right? Whatever happened, like it was great. I really like the way you did this. I really like the way you did that. And then here's what you can do. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can do. That's kind of the way feedback works at AFTP. It's very supportive, and then people are empowered to try something else or to make progress, and they don't feel uncomfortable just because they're beginners and they're it's hard. It's challenging for everybody. In France, it was a little more of like, okay, you did that, but like if you did it that way, it might be more interesting. It's just like a little more less nice.
Yeah.
Even though he was nice and a pretty good teacher.
Of course. Yeah. I think, you were there for a long time. I doubt he was a mean guy. You kept coming back, and I imagine other folks did too. Yeah. And I think, I'm thinking about those teaching styles. That's very true. Like, Yeah, just the difference of like that tough love versus like the almost like compliment sandwich is what I would call it, where, you know, we surround it with like positivity and praise, but then you're able to still get some feedback in there as well. And I think both can be good styles of teaching. And depending on who you are as a person, right, you might click with one style more than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So jumping back into your journey here, you're doing improv in France. You said like you're doing it for a while in Paris, then you moved out of Paris, then you came back, started improv again.
Yeah.
And then I know career-wise, that kept you kind of moving all over the place. Is that true? Yeah. Or at least a few times you moved.
I moved because of Maeve's career, my wife. Yeah, so in Paris, we spent 6 months in the south of France because she had a job as a manager at a restaurant, a pop-up restaurant that was like in residency at a hotel south for 6 months. So that was interruption in improv. And then as soon as we came back to Paris, I signed up again with the same guy. And then back then I told her, if you ever, because she's from LA, my wife is from LA. I told her, if you ever want to move to the US, I'm down. Let me know, because I knew that she had, you know, the itch to come back.
Yeah.
And then she got a job. So she got a job in Berkeley. So she moved to Berkeley. And then we were married. So we got the paperwork done for me to get a green card. It took a full year.
Wow. That's a long time. Yeah.
And then a year later, I moved too. And we were in Oakland for 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. Living up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And then when did you come down to LA?
The summer 2021. So over a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And strangely enough, I did not do improv in the Bay or in San Francisco. I took a comedy writing and directing class for like 8 weeks or something. That was really fun. It had nothing to do with improv. It was about comedy, so similarities, but I don't exactly know why. But maybe it's just because I'm a slow mover. I'm slow to take steps to do things. And then in LA, after a few months in LA, I heard about IFTP, and then I looked at the website, and then I signed up. Yeah, and here I am.
Like that. Yeah, and you have a past doing improv already. You're like, yeah, I've been taking classes for a big chunk of my life already.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense to start it here, and also I knew that LA is a big improv.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you'd already been. You'd already seen shows and talked to a lot of folks who were in the scene. You already knew a lot. Has your wife ever been interested in doing improv, or it's just your thing?
I think she wants to do a class because she is taking acting classes, and she loves it. She has a acting coach that she loves. His name is Jeffrey Marcus. So she loves acting, and she knows that it might be good for her to do improv. But the way her mind works is very much like working very hard on the material, learning it, and then drilling into the scene and developing the scene with the material.
Yeah,
right?
building out what's there.
Yeah. So improv sounds like very far from the way her mind works. To her, I think she'd be great at it, but it would be like you have to step out of her way, basically. But it's like that for everybody when you start improv, right? You're used to being in control, and then in improv you're not in control anymore, and you have to let go of the part of you that wants to be in control. So she might come. She told me I will not do the same class as you.
Yeah.
I would love to be a fly on the wall and see her do it, because she's really good in her acting class, and she's smart. So she would be like quick on her feet and things like that.
Yeah,
like, I would
there.
love to see that. Yeah, I can see it, but I won't, because she won't let me.
Yeah,
But maybe in the future she'll sign up. Who knows?
Yeah, I've tried to ask my wife to take a class too, and she's not. I know she'd be really good in the same way, so I'm just like, one day. But it's that same thing where she's like, I don't know if I'd want to be in the class with you, like at least the first one, because it's kind of something that I think for someone who's new, they kind of got to figure it out on their own.
Yeah,
before anyone.
I think it's better. Yeah,
there's some pressure of like a loved one being right there watching them, and sometimes you just got to get your feet wet by yourself first, and then.
That's what's fun about her being in her acting class and me being here at AFTP, is that where would people that we didn't know before, and it's really outside of the life that we have as a couple, and the life that our social life that we have together. So we have our own independent thing, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that's really important too. Like as a married couple, I'm very newly married, so I'm only a few months into it.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
That's very cool. Yeah.
But I'm learning that that's something really important of like having, like each person, like, yes, you are a couple, you're a unit, you've made that choice, but it's also like, don't lose your individual identity. And that could, be there in interests and hobbies. Like you mentioned, like the acting class and the improv class, you both have those different kind of groups that you go and spend time with.
Yeah. Find something that is fulfilling outside of your relationship.
Yeah, and for me, that's doing this stuff here, being on this podcast with you right now.
Yeah, for me, it's doing improv at AFTP. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Okay. So I want to jump back to when you started at IFTP. You said, so that was June 2022,
that's right?
That's right. You joined in Jamie's class when you started. All right. So what do you think are some things that you've learned here at IFTP that are different, basically things that you've learned from when you started to now? Because it's been over 6 months, 7 months now.
I've learned that it's all about your scene partner. By which I mean it's about listening to your scene partner, and as Liam said it, and I was like, wow, that's so smart. Making your scene partner seem good and feel good. Making your scene partner seem and feel good.
Yeah.
And if that's your focus, if you want to make them shine and listen to what they're offering and react on that, then that's a good scene. I also learned that you as quickly as you can, when you're doing a scene, you have to make it about the relationship between the two people. I think we focused on it in France, but they really like hammered it home for me after doing IFTP for a few months. Like a scene has to be in the relationship with the two people, and also about how you feel about the other person. And that's always a great way to move a scene forward, is having a feeling or having an emotion.
Yeah.
Or asking yourself, if you're stuck, you can ask yourself, how do I feel right now about the situation? Or more importantly, how do I feel about my scene partner? And then if you say something to that effect, then something will happen in the scene. And then you'll touch on something that you can pursue in the scene. So yeah, listening and focusing on the relationship and your feelings about that relationship.
I think those are good points. Yeah, because I mean, that's so true in everyday life, right? Like every interaction you have with someone, you either have or don't have a relationship, but that informs how you feel. Even a stranger, right? We all have certain feelings about strangers. Maybe we're like, oh, that stranger was really nice, or oh, that stranger was kind of scary. You know, but those feelings are always there. And I think, yeah, like you said, it informs an improv scene so much and can make it go somewhere. It gives it direction.
Yeah, and another thing that I learned by being an FTP over a few months is that you can't really be judgmental when you go to class. And I've always been very judgmental. I kind of grew up just being judgmental, and I think that's okay. I think it's very common, and it's okay because people judge each other. It's a way to protect yourself, because if you're judging somebody, then you're not threatened by them, right? You're like, oh, he looks really happy. He also looks really rich. But look at him with these pants and that hat, you know, what an asshole. I don't have to think about it anymore. And if you're like open to, if you're not judging, you're like, oh, you'll be threatened by this guy who looks happier than you are or whatever. And also when you come of age, it's a way to assert yourself, like, by the things you reject, like, I don't want anything to do with that, or I don't want anything to do with that kind of person. So it's normal to be judgmental, but you kind of have to move on from that at some point, because otherwise you'll be trapped in your own bubble, and then you won't connect with people. Yeah. And at improv, you have no choice. You cannot afford to be judgy, because you have to accept whoever's there and what they're bringing from their own personality, or into a scene, or into class also, and just the energy of the class. So you have to be very open to people. So being a little judgmental and being pretty introverted, that is something that I learned by being an FTP. Like, accept everybody for who they are, and they're all going to bring some magic to a scene, whoever they are, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's very satisfying to be able to realize that I can be open to that, open to other people like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think improv is the place where if you don't do that, it's going to be really difficult for you. Yeah. Like you said, kind of give up that judgment as soon as you walk in the door. And,
Yeah.
everyone else has to do that too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's judgment of other people and judgment of yourself too. So,
Yep.
yeah. Because I know for me in my improv experience, we'd like to beat ourselves up and be like, oh, why did I say that? That was so stupid. Or, yeah, I do that. That's something I'm always working on, I would say.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite improv exercises that you do or that we do here?
Oh, good question. I love tumble.
Tumble. Tell me about that one.
So tumble, you have 3 chairs that are angled in a random way. The instructor angles them on the stage a random way, and then 3 people, and then you have to walk around the room, and then the teacher says tumble, and then you have to fall on the chair and take a position,
Right.
whatever the position is on the chair, and you have to stay that way. You can't move, and then the scene has to start. So you're kind of using everybody's position on the chair to start a scene. And it's very challenging. It's usually a hot mess.
Yes.
But I've had scenes where I think from one of the scene partners being a very quick thinker and coming up with like the setting right away, like we're on a boat or we're in the forest or something, and then I remember scenes where my 2 scene partners were really good at justifying the position, and then you just have to play with that. And a lot of what happens very often at tumble is that you gang up. 2 people gang up on the third one, and that's a super fun dynamic.
Yeah, kind of that point of view battle that you're having.
Yeah, and then if the third one is a good sport, he'll play into the other 2 people ganging up on him, and then it just become hilarious. Like I've had fits of laughter by doing tumble that I'll remember forever, I think, or at least I hope, because it was out of control. Like we were doing the scene, but I could hardly talk, and I could hardly
kind of keep your composure.
Yeah, and it's so fun. Like it's exhilarating when that happens. I could hardly talk. That's how funny the scene was, and it's still a fun scene to watch.
Yeah.
And it's also fun to watch somebody who's trying to suppress laughter on stage. It's always really, really delightful. And then it was so funny that during that moment when we talk about the scene that just happened, I was still laughing. And I actually had it was almost like the laughter was getting emotional. Like it was almost like tears of joy, how funny and how happy I was. Like it's like a picture of, toddlers, they can't really control their emotions. So if they're angry, it's a tantrum. And if they're happy, it's like out of control, laughter, screams and stuff like that. Yeah. That's how I felt. Just at the end of the scene, I was like, I can't stop laughing. And I was surprised about it. I was like, wow, that's really unique. And that's unique to improv. And it was specific, for me, it was specific to the tumble scene. And it can be very hard. Like I've done tumble scenes that don't really go anywhere, or they just go all over the place and everybody's confused the whole scene.
Yes.
Because it's 3 people, right? So it's hard.
Yeah, which is, anything more than 2, it starts to get interesting, right? You really have to work to find that balance and make sure everyone gets a chance to speak and be heard. And
the give and take, that's right.
Yes, the give and take.
That's something I learned here also that's very good. Like give and take, especially in scenes where there are several people. You speak, you give something, you deliver something, but then you have to stop and watch what goes on in front of you between with your other 2 scene partners, so then you can add to it. But like don't hold the microphone too long.
Yeah, pass it around.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think I was thinking about tumble, like those scenes it's so fun seeing what everyone does with the chair. Like they're like standing on it, climbing under it, hanging off it. Like you see some really interesting positions, or like, I don't even know how people do it. Like they contort themselves around the chair.
Yeah. And I think the more challenging the position or the zaniest it is, or I think the better it is, because if you're like, I think back on times like where I had a position where like hunched over on the chair, and a position that in itself pretty much expressed like pain, that I'm going to be in pain the whole scene.
Yeah.
And that kind of carries me, because when you're making a physical choice, then that choice will carry you through a scene. It helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah. That kind of goes along with space work, right? That physical choice of like, how's my body positioned? What is my body doing? Oh, now I know how I'm approaching the rest of the scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why that's such a good exercise. Yeah, you nailed it right there. It's just like I put my body like this, and it did the rest.
Yeah, and it might spark a character in you, and then when you're talking character, and that the character, you just had to let the character guide you, which is fun when that happens.
Yeah. Does it like looking back on your life so far, does it surprise you, like thinking about maybe when you were a kid or in high school or even in college, that you're so involved in doing improv now? Like you're like, I never would have pictured that for me.
I wouldn't say I was like the class clown or anything like that, or a born performer, but I did enjoy like goofing around, making people laugh. There were, I can remember, they're vague memories, but remember being in school and being kind of on fire at the lunch table. And,
Oh yeah.
you know, and riffing for like a half hour.
Oh, that's where the best things happen, at the lunch table. Yeah.
Yeah. And then later, like in school, I would really be kind of a screwball, like, I don't know, grab my crotch and then hurl myself against the wall in my dorm room or something like that, just to make my friends laugh.
Yeah, just to.
Yeah. So that, you know, that may have led to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so there's something I learned in France that definitely applies to AFTP, is that my teacher kept telling me, you're thinking too much, you're thinking too much, you're thinking too much. And I thought improv was like being able to think like 3 steps ahead of the scene. And you're doomed when you do that, right? But that you have to learn it the hard way. Because I thought that's what they did at UCB. Like they can see.
Yeah, it's like chess. Like they're planning it out and anticipating.
You set it up something. Yeah, and whenever I think I was trying to come up with a good line or with what the story was going to be, and then my teacher could see it in my head. It was like he could see the gears turning in my head. He was like, "Stop it! Stop thinking! Stop thinking! You're thinking too much. You're thinking too much. Give me another one. Give me another one." He would challenge me that way, and I think the way I link this to improv is that if you want to be smart, it's not going to work in improv. I think you have to be present and listen to your scene partner and react, right? But I think if you're in a scene and if you're really living the scene, you're in it, you're engaged, you're like that character interacting with another person, I think the smart may come back into like a good delivery or a good idea that comes out of nowhere and lands well. So trying to come up with, I don't know, I think trying to be smart might creep up on you in a good way if you have a good idea during a scene. And so that's one way that my being a little analytical or brainy or in my head may you know, I don't know, reveal itself in an improv scene. That's a little convoluted way of tying this aspect of my personality to improv, but yeah, I think part of me is a kind of a goof. So
yeah, and I think maybe it's just like as a kid you had ways to like do that, to be a goof, right, with your friends at the lunch table or just like slamming around in the dorm rooms or whatever. And maybe improv is your way of doing that as an adult, because I know, at least in my life, there aren't a ton of other chances for it outside of improv and outside of class or a show or whatever.
Yeah, and I think I'm generally a calm person, but I do have these outbursts of energy where, like, if I'm at the park or something, I want to run around, do cartwheels, throw my coats in the air or something. And that's why I love skateboarding too, because you're at the skate park or at the spot, and you're just exhausting yourself, just hurling yourself at an obstacle and trying to slide on it. So that release is really, really great. And you get that release in improv if you do a scene or if you do a show. You know, the adrenaline level is high, and during class you get to be somebody. You get to be a little out of control, or you get to be a loud person, right? Or you get to do a scene, where you exaggerate an aspect of somebody's style, somebody's behavior. So it's nice to have an outlet where you can be a little crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So you had mentioned earlier in the episode that you did a show this past December, and was that your first show with IFTP?
It was, yeah.
And had you done shows before that?
I did a show in France at the end of my year and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
Same kind of format, like short form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your experience been like, maybe performing in an improv show versus being in an improv class?
Well, the energy level stays really high through the show. In class, you can kind of sit back when you're not up and watch the other ones. You still have to be engaged and and pay attention and think about how that would apply to you. In the show, you're almost performing when you're on the back bench because you're just watching them so intently. You're so into it. It almost feels, you're not on stage, but it almost feels like you're right there with them. And Ava told us that when we come on the stage, the energy that we have is the energy that the audience is going to give back to you. So you better be high. So I came on, I think, hopping around or something, jumping on stage. And I've seen like the shows where, Shelley will just dance.
Oh yeah,
The faculty shows, yeah, she'll just dance in front of everybody for the whole first minute where people have just come on, the performers have just come on. So getting that intensity really high is different from class. And then the scenes themselves, the stakes are a little higher. The stakes feel higher because you have more people watching you. But it helps, I think, because you're kind of electrified by the audience.
Yeah.
And by the fact that there's 10 or 9 performers, right there with you, versus like maybe one on the scene.
Yeah.
Your partner, your other students watching you. So it's like I guess a slightly more intense version of class.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I think, like you said, those kind of 10 other people or so who are in the show with you, you're like, well, okay, we're all buying in. This is a crazy thing we're doing. And right off the bat, when you come out on stage, bring that energy. Like, I like that you're jumping around. Like, the audience is there to have a good time. You're there to have a good time. Like, let's have a good time.
Yeah, and it creates
so important.
Yeah. And it helps the other performers too. Like when everybody's kind of dancing and jumping and high energy, that it kind of feeds on itself almost.
Yeah.
And there's a bond that's created. I think like the people I performed with, we were all first time cast members. So now we're friends forever.
Yeah, because you're like, well, we all just did this together. This was like a momentous thing for us.
Yeah, we jumped through the circle of fire together. Yeah, so friends for life.
That's really cool.
I'm excited to get to do classes or perform with them again. And that bond comes from being on a show more than from being in class. I mean, that bond is like very special to be on a show together, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. I got a couple more questions for you before we jump into our games. So our second to last question. What do you think has been the impact of improv in your life?
I can tell you the place it has in my life, and specifically IFTP. I started therapy around the same time that I started improv. Like I think my first session was in May and my first class was in June or something like that. So pretty close. And it's a funny coincidence, and it's a coincidence that I can ascribe meaning to if I want to, because they have both been they both supported like growth in me, because, for example, my therapist told me, you're just hungry for connection, because I'm new to LA and LA stuff, so I wanted community, I wanted to be part of something.
Yeah.
And I found that at IFTP, and it happened, it really gelled for me during camp, because being able to connect with that many people in this short amount of time and connect in such a deep and heartfelt and almost emotional way was huge. And I realized, like, I didn't really know where improv was going for me. Like, I'm taking classes, I'm enjoying them. Then after camp, I was like, oh, I can get better at this, and I can become like friends with these people for like, long term, like real friends with these people. So it's a very healthy part of the balance of my life for me to be able to come here every week and connect with people, make friends, and do improv. And I also think when you're faced with like somewhat of an existential crisis because you realize that we're all finite and uncertain people, like you're facing the prospect of death, disease, catastrophe, tragedy. We live in a chaotic world that's really messed up and over which we don't have a lot of control, and there's a lot of uncertainty there. So how do you, if you're religious, you can find comfort in prayer and surrender to something that's bigger, a higher level, right? Something that's bigger than you. And I'm not religious at all. So I find that being immersed in an activity that doesn't have anything to do with the rest of life, like it's not useful in any practical way. It doesn't correspond to the demands of society and the economy and everyday life, basically.
Right. Yeah.
It's outside of that, but you can still immerse yourself in it, surrender to it, forget yourself in a way, forget the self or the part of yourself that is anxious about death and chaos, basically, and lose yourself in that. When you do that, I find that I can do that with improv, because when you're engaged in the scene, you're like in the scene, you're nowhere else, right? It's like you disappear for 2 minutes and then you're back, kind of. And improv is a real celebration of life for me, because you are when you're doing a scene, you're using your own experience, right? You draw on everyday life to make a scene. So it's like it's kind of a way to poke fun at everyday life, like a scene in an office. You're poking fun at office politics, right?
Yes.
Or if it's a first date, you're kind of poking fun at how sheepish we all are on a first date. Those politics. Life is like a comedy of manners, and we get to make fun of it, but in a very heartfelt, like, it comes from a place of love. It comes from the heart when we do it in improv. And so I think we can all rejoice in the fact that we have a common experience of just living here in LA, specifically here, and we can have fun with it. And I think that's a way to celebrate life beyond the madness and the darkness. And you're doing it with people, and you're doing it with new people a lot of the time, and so you get to connect with new people, like by hopping from one class to the next, or being in like flex level classes where there's new people every month, right? I get to meet so many new people and discover that everybody is bringing something different to a scene, and you discover a little truth about them through a very unconventional and unique way, which is by playing with them in a scene, as opposed to socializing with them. Like, hey, where'd you grow up? Like, what do your parents do? What do you do? Yeah. It's not the same. You're doing a scene, and they're being a character, you're being a character, you're breaking up with them or whatever it is, or you're in a fight, or you're declaring your love for them, and then you see how they react. And they bring a style to it, a flavor. Everybody has a different flavor. Yeah. And being able to connect in a unique way to different people, that many people, and then forming really deep connections, and some of them friendships, I think it's a way to... It's really life affirming for me. It's almost a way to fight back against all the forces in life that just bring you down. Yeah. And I've realized that it's almost, at least for me, I think it's kind of I found that it's kind of a responsibility to stay, to still have the faith in life and faith in humanity, and still believe in human connection through the terrible world that we live in. And what's great about IFTP is that it's all different ages. Yes. And I was talking about that with some of my friends recently. He was saying it's really important to spend time and socialize with people from all kinds of ages, all different ages, not just your own bubble. Yeah, exactly. And at IFTP, you can do that, and you can sort of forget about your own age by hanging out with people who are a different age than you are, and the age doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I discovered doing improv at AFTP that you can celebrate yourself and celebrate others, even though the world is kind of messed up, and even though like we're all like vulnerable beings, basically. Something Annie Rose said at camp. That is one of the best takeaways I had from camp. She was talking about not be able. She was talking about dancing, and then she was saying, "I discovered that I can celebrate my body for the amazing things that it has done and the amazing things that it can do still, like holding someone and comforting someone, or dancing, or going hiking long distance. And you can do, if you're lucky, you can do these things for a long time.
Yes.
And even though, I mean, in your late 30s, you're kind of aware of your own age, and you're like, I'm not 19 anymore. I'm still young. I'm not 19 anymore. And that stuff doesn't get easier as you get older, I don't think, I'm sure. But wherever you're at, you can celebrate yourself and being alive and being able to form connection with other people.
Yes.
And IFTP gave me the awareness of that. And for that, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. And just hearing what you said about the idea of, not losing sight of positivity in a world that can often be so negative, and there's a lot of pain. And I think when we have places like this, or just, the connections with people that we get here, it's really important, Don't lose all hope.
Exactly, yeah. It's important not to lose the focus on joy and the possibility of joy. Yeah.
Well said, well said. All right, my final question for you, and then we'll do some improv. What do you think is next for you, Sylvain, in your improv journey or career? Any goals that you have, or any hopes? So for my improv, personally, I think I want to try to try to be in character more, make character choices versus being just a version of myself. I think that's something I don't do very often, and I don't really know how to go about it, really. So working on that would be great. I would love to do more shows. I'm doing a show soon, so that's great. I'm happy about that. Like the idea that to be in future shows is very exciting. Yeah, definitely. In February, right? Or this month, in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I think right. I know when that's happening. Yeah.
And keep doing the outside events, like the jams, the workshops, things like that. Like I hope there's
a lot of good opportunities.
Yeah, if there's a drama prov around the corner, then I will sign up for it, because I think sounds very interesting. I missed the ones that happened last year, and I would love to do one this year. So yeah, keep doing IFTP. Maybe try different classes and doing the workshops and more shows.
Those are all good goals. Yeah, more classes, more workshops, more shows. Yeah. I'm all about it. More improv. All right. Speaking of more improv, you ready to play some games?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So the first game that we're going to play, Sylvain, is this one. I don't know if this name is good, but it's the name I came up with. It's called Scene Study. And in this game, we're going to get a suggestion for a scenario, and we're just going to play out the scenario. We're going to improvise it. And then I'll black us out when I think we are done. So you are going to be playing a zombie that is convincing me, your coworker, that I need to put in a little more effort in my work. Yeah. All right. And then, we'll just go ahead and get started. I'll black us out when we're done.
James.
Philip?
Yeah.
What's up, Philip?
You seem a little distracted today.
Oh, yeah. I was just, I was taking one of those online personality quizzes. It turns out, because I like waffles, that means I'm irresponsible with my money. That's what the quiz told me. which I think is ridiculous. So I'm going to take it again to see if I get a different result.
James, I would recommend that you go back to that pie chart that you were working on.
Oh, no, Philip, that pie chart's not important. I have until 5 p.m. to get it done. I'm telling you, this quiz is really interesting.
No, I'm not feeling well, James. And I would really like you to just get your eyes on that pie chart and just type away and show me that data. Just show it to me and be ready. You better be ready early.
I'm sorry you're not feeling well. I understand that getting this done is important to you. I know we have that joint presentation tomorrow on this pie chart, and well, I guess I do have a job to do, right?
Let me show you here. Oh. You really gotta be more involved, more engaged in your work, Jan.
You're right. You're moving quite faster than I do. Wow. You a coffee drinker?
I'm feeling very feverish. And you're looking very tasty, James.
Well,
So,
Philip, I might need to get back to this pie chart now. I mean, thank you for opening up the window on my computer. I appreciate it. But you're starting to make me feel a little uncomfortable.
I want you to finish it, but I'm gonna roll up your sleeve.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to look at your forearm and maybe take a bite at it.
Blackout.
Oh boy.
Your zombie noises that you made, like the chomping, those were fantastic. I was like, this is what a zombie sounds like.
I hope I make the audience, the listeners cringe.
I was just trying not to crack up because you're just like those are.
Yeah, they're gonna sound very powerful.
That's what a zombie sounds like, and you just got it perfectly. Like, have you ever played Minecraft before?
No, I know what it is, but I've never.
Yeah, there's zombies in the game, and they have a very similar sound, like just
really?
kind of the low, like, and then the like. I was like, oh my gosh.
I was trying to be sick because zombies are sick.
Yes.
And I was trying to
have a
be
fever.
slow because they're slow, and then eat you because they end up eating people. So.
Yeah. And honestly, probably for your sake and your job, it would have been more useful to eat me than to let me continue to be your coworker. So
Yeah.
that was a good choice. Yeah, that was great. All right. Moving on to our next game. This one is called Internet Date. This is an IFTP classic where you and I were both going to have our random screen names. And I found these screen names that we have on a random username generator. So, very, very great. And we're just meeting up for a date. We only know each other by our screen names. So your name is going to be Naive Salad 12. So you're Naive Salad 12. And my name is Meaty Set 328. Meaty Set 328.
SET?
Yes.
And I'm salad. Naive salad.
Naive Salad.
Okay.
Yeah. And then meaty, like chicken. Meaty Set 328. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Meaty set 328.
Oh my, Naive Salad.
Oh my, it's good to see you.
Oh, this is okay. I've never actually met someone online and then met them in person. I always get nervous and then I cancel, but I had a good feeling about you, and
Oh, you look great. I mean, you're in great shape, just like your pictures. Like
Oh my
you don't lie
gosh.
about that. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, your avatar profile picture is spot on to what you look like. I mean, you're 5'1", just like you said. You know, and that
Yeah.
it's nice to know there's people out there telling the truth online. Naive salad. Oh man, I'm relieved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I know that you come here often, right?
yeah, I do. This is my favorite coffee shop. You know, Starbucks. I know it's a chain, but it's consistent. You know, that's what I like about it.
I think Starbucks great. I think they really care about the coffee they're making, and they really care about the pastries, and it's all like very well made. And I eat there often myself, and I think it just feels so authentic to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quaint, it's dainty. Yeah, it's always fun to be in a Starbucks. I'm very glad you brought me here.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
well, I'll be honest, because you know that's why we're here. To be honest, is I wanted to meet you at a Starbucks because I was a little worried I might get stabbed or something. The internet can be a scary place, but you're not going to stab me, right?
No, you don't have to worry about me.
No, salad wouldn't do that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the gym that's next door, that's where you work out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we met. You know, I saw your post on that bodybuilding forum, and I just commented, and well, our conversation took off from there. So, I'm glad I can, maybe after we finish our coffees, we can pop over to the gym, and I can show you where I lift.
Oh yeah, yeah. You were just there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Because I see you have your bag. Yeah. So you want to go back after this?
I do.
Sure, yeah.
I love working out.
I'm very new to working out.
Really?
Yeah. That's why I went on the forum because I just wanted to learn about what it's like to work out. What do you have to bring at the gym?
Sure.
Because I don't know anything. Like, do you have to bring a change of clothes, or do you have to bring your own food? You know, what do people do there? And,
Yeah.
and do you come with a friend, or do you go by yourself? I'm never sure. So I showed up on there, and people have a lot to say about gyms. And
They do.
yeah, and they're really into it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I saw your post about what kind of protein shake to use, and how you kind of boosted your nutrition lately because you realized that you weren't eating enough protein for the amount of workout that you were doing and the weight that you were after. Like, I thought it was. I never thought about food or working out that way. I didn't know that it was a science. I thought like, you lift a weight, you get tired, and I don't know, and then you take a walk outside and you feel better or something. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to learn from you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I see why your username had naive in it. But I would love to teach you. It would be my honor. Going to the gym is one of my favorite activities. I go once, sometimes twice a day, and I'm just all into that nutritional science, supplements and protein powder. I love PB Fit. That's my favorite brand. It's like a peanut butter flavor, and it's got some good macros. It's very tasty.
Well, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know anything about that.
Maybe after we work out, if you want, you could come back to my place. I could make you a shake.
Oh, yeah. Can it be like kind of a green smoothie or something like that?
Green smoothie, sure.
I love greens.
Yeah, I've got this supplement called Athletic Greens. It's got all your vitamins and minerals and your daily vegetable intake in it as well.
Oh, I love veggies, and green is my favorite color. So it's nothing's more appetizing to me than green food.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, of course.
I love a lettuce. I love little gems. I love kale.
Naive salad.
Yeah, that's why I call myself.
I see. Because you're kind of new to the world, but you know what you love. I really appreciate that. And me, I love getting my sets done in the gym. I'm kind of a meathead. That's why I'm there so much.
I'm eager to discover because I really have like no body strength.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, you struggled to lift up that small coffee you have there.
I know.
It's a mere 12 ounces.
Nerves. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll work on that together. We'll get your wrist strength up, and we'll get you on a nice workout plan. There's nothing I love more than helping someone who's new to the gym.
Wow. Yeah. I would love to do a session with you.
Especially someone who, maybe wants to be more than just a friend. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not being too forward.
No, Beanie. No, I think I'm I'm open, you know. I'm open to discovering where this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited to work out. To be honest,
Yeah.
it's new to me. So
Yeah. Well, not for long.
Maybe
Don't
try-
worry. You spend a week with me, you'll be an old gym rat by the end of it.
Oh, I will.
Yes.
And I will know the people there.
You'll know everyone.
And
You'll know
all the stations, the workout contraptions that they have there.
all of the machines.
Wow.
You'll know them. You'll know the weights, how many plates you want to add to the bar before you start doing, the bench press or, squatting or deadlifts.
Oh, wow. That sounds hard, though.
No, it's easy. Trust me. You got a good guide like me. There's nothing I know more than my way around a gym.
Oh, boy. And I heard they even have showers there.
Oh, yeah. They got some showers back there, That's why you bring a change of clothes, because after you work out, you get all sweaty and disgusting. So you want to clean off afterwards.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of fun being back there, with all your friends. You're all showering, just enjoying the workout.
So you do come with friends. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I often think about at the gym is a little saying me and some of my other weightlifting buds have, nudity is community.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that something that interests you, Naive Salad?
I wouldn't be opposed. Yeah. I mean, I heard that, in the sauna, you have to strip down, don't you?
That you do. Hey, we won't let you in there if you don't. We'll say, hey, you take off that wetsuit.
You make people take off their clothes before the sauna?
It's part of the gym experience.
Meaty said.
It's me, Naive Salad.
I can see it, though.
Look.
And the people will be nice to me, even if though I'm naked in the sauna.
Absolutely.
I hope so. I hope they're nice over there.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure they are.
Look, at this Planet Fitness, we have some of the nicest people. It's a judgment-free zone, certified.
Wow, that feels great. I have a good feeling about that.
Yeah.
Being able to work out without thinking about what other people think of you.
Yeah.
Without worrying about that.
Yeah. Well, I might be judging you a little bit, but that's because I only care so much. But the other people, I won't let them judge you.
Oh, I guess that's okay coming from you.
Yeah.
Because I know you mean well.
Well, I do. I just want what's best for you. I want you to be, I don't want you to be a naive salad forever. I want you to be a meaty salad one day.
A meaty salad.
Yeah. We're talking Cobb.
Ooh. Parmesan.
Parmesan.
Chicken breasts.
Caesar chicken salad.
I can see it.
Just a chicken salad. That's a meaty salad.
Yeah, maybe something with more iron in it next time.
Some sort of a salmon salad.
I'm getting ahead of myself, maybe, but I can
But
picture.
that's all right.
No, I can picture romaine. I can picture beef on the bed of romaine.
That's gonna be.
I just thought of something.
What'd you think of salad?
Barbecue ribs on greens. With the barbecue sauce dripping all over those lettuce leaves. I would eat that salad.
Salad. Will you let me be the meat to your salad?
Meaty. I would like nothing more. Let's go to the gym.
Let's pump some iron. Blackout. I didn't know where that scene was going, but I liked our dialogue, and we were just along for the ride,
Yeah, I could picture us working out together and
Yeah.
then me slowly realizing that I'm hungry for meat.
Yeah, you did a really good job incorporating your username into some of your choices there, your character choices. Just even the nervousness. All right. Good stuff. We got one more game we're going to play. This one probably going to be pretty quick. This game is called Commercial. You and I, we're going to get a random object. I don't know what it is yet. We're going to be given a random object, and we're just going to improvise a commercial for that object.
All right.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Our random object is a mirror. Let's sell a mirror.
I'm a man and I want to know what I look like in the morning.
Yeah, men deserve to look in a mirror and see themselves before they face the day.
If you want your day to be better, start with the man in the mirror. Look at yourself. See something you got to fix? Fix it. Wash your face.
Comb your hair.
Moisturize.
Pluck your eyebrows.
Shave your beard. Keep the mustache maybe.
Trim your nose hair.
Trim your nose hair, trim your ear hair, flex a muscle. Get in shape for the day.
Kiss the mirror.
Kiss the mirror. Because when you're kissing the mirror, you're planting one on your own lips. And that, my friend, is how you start a good day.
Because if you love yourself, no one's going to bring you down.
Nothing you do is wrong when you love yourself.
And nothing is wrong when you do it in the mirror.
Start with the mirror.
End with the mirror. Blackout.
That was a great closer. Start with the mirror, end with the mirror.
And you were kind of doing the Michael Jackson lyrics of Man in the Mirror too. That got me. Because I was like, oh, I mean, it's a great song.
Yeah.
How could you not?
Great song.
If we're talking about a man in the mirror. Oh, wonderful.
Great that
wonderful.
it's mostly for men who need like that boost, that morning boost.
It's very positive, Look at yourself. Make sure you look good.
Shave that beard.
Yeah, some basic, maintenance. And then kiss yourself. Get out there. Wonderful.
Pluck your nose.
Yeah. Hey, that's important. Ear hair, nose hair.
Gotta do it.
We got some things we got to maintain going on in this area. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sylvain, for playing with me. Before we conclude tonight's episode, I want to give you the chance. Any final words you want to leave us with?
I love that Matt refers to improv as an art form. In many ways, improv is an art form, and doing improv it's also about honoring the art form with like the format, the rules, all the different exercises that we do, and it's really a beautiful thing to do. It's very satisfying to feel yourself getting better at it and doing it with a lot of really, really cool people.
Definitely. Well said. And oh yeah, improv is the art form. That's why we're here.
Form, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sylvain, for joining us on this week's episode of Improv for the Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other previous episodes, please make sure to check us out on social media or leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But until next time, we'll see you. Improv for the Podcast was created by Matt Moore and Michael Lee Evans. Edited and produced by Michael Lee Evans. And finally, presented by Improv for the People. Interested in more IFTP? You can visit us at improvforthepeople.com or on our socials, such as Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Remember, new episodes are released weekly. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.